So we found out yesterday that Caden Durham's ankle injury is something that LSU is going to be monitoring all week. We didn't have a lot of information on Saturday night. As I've mentioned, I don't even know that I noticed it happening on Saturday as I was in the press box. It wasn't one of those deals where the training staff went out there for 5 minutes and he gimped off notably. I didn't make a note that he'd gone to the injury tent. I don't even really know when the play happened. I haven't gone back to watch that, but it's irrelevant. We know what the situation is with Caden Durham and that he is day-to-day this week with call it a low ankle sprain, just not a high ankle sprain. And so the next thought that comes to my mind is, okay, what if he can't play? Because if he can play, then he will play, and he'll be your starting running back, and you'll kind of use the rotation that you've used thus far. But if he can't play, you've got some very, very unproven depth that you're going to have to tap into with this LSU backfield. Last year, Caden Durham led LSU in carries. He had 140 on the season. Josh Williams had 117. Put together, that's 257 of LSU's 373 carries. More succinctly put for radio, for not numbers, those two combined for 70% of LSU's carries last year. So you realize that Williams is with the Buccaneers now and he's moved on, and then you look at Caden Durham this year. He's got 52 carries. Second place on that list is Juwan Johnson at 16. The drop-off from 52 to 16 is a long way. So Caden Durham is your only proven running back. You've got Caleb Jackson, who's now a junior, who has not really done anything. Over the last 2 seasons, he's got 50 carries with a long of 12 yards. He hasn't scored a rushing touchdown since the ReliaQuest Bowl when Garrett Nussmeier made his first start. So he hasn't been productive at all and hasn't really been given an opportunity to be that. Juwan Johnson has played 3 different positions at LSU, and Harlem Berry has played 4 games. And if you take the 2 stiffest competitors that LSU's played against, with Clemson and Florida, he's got 3 carries for 3 yards. So you haven't played any of these guys a significant amount. One thing that Caden Durham brings to the table that we know, is he's very good at breaking tackles. And it's something that this offense, quite frankly, requires the running back to do. Y'all have watched this group run block. You watched them run block last year. That group moved on. You've watched this group run block for 4 games. You're going to have to break some tackles to run the football. And Caden Durham, so far this year, has forced 6 missed tackles. Next best on the roster is 2, Michael Van Buren and Juwan Johnson. But also, furthermore, Caden Durham has gained 151 of his 213 yards after contact. 71% of Caden Durham's yardage this year has come after contact. And while I've watched Juwan Johnson's high school highlights and he ran for 4,000 yards in high school, he ran for an absurd total of touchdowns for a running quarterback in high school. He hasn't done this. And Harlem Berry was an elite high school back, number 1 in the country. But he hasn't played at this level, at this speed, with this workload before. So you're missing a key piece to the weak link in your offense. LSU's running game is not going to be asked to carry it in Oxford. Not going to be asked to carry the team against South Carolina or Alabama or Oklahoma. But you've got to have something. And while Caden Durham hasn't been great, he gives you something. He can. The first play of the game against Clemson, we've mentioned this many times. LSU didn't block it worth a flip. He got 25 yards. Last year in Columbia, South Carolina, LSU's offensive line was okay, but Durham broke 7 tackles that day. He gives you something, and this is an Ole Miss defense that has been atrocious against the run. Ole Miss, there's 136 teams in the FBS, 136. Ole Miss is 122nd in yards per game allowed on the ground. They're 121st in yards per carry allowed. And they haven't faced the 2012 Alabama team with Eddie Lacy in the backfield behind all pros. They faced Kentucky, Arkansas, Tulane. Like, not elite teams. Arkansas's got a potent offense, but this Ole Miss running game has been terrible. Running defense has been terrible. But LSU's ground game has been bad too. 112th in the country in yards per game, 109th in yards per carry, 106th in attempts per game. They don't run the ball a lot. But they've got to try to run the ball against this Ole Miss team. So how do they do it? Well, here's my guess. This is my opinion. And this is if Durham doesn't play. If Durham plays, this conversation's moot. But it's Tuesday, and we've got a lot to talk about in this game, and we'll get more information as the week goes on. But LSU's got to practice for the first couple of days as if Durham may not be available. So who are you giving reps to? My opinion, I think that they've lost confidence that Caleb Jackson's going to be an effective SEC running back. That's my opinion. The carry count would bear that out. I think, based on what you saw on Saturday when Durham came out of the game, Juwan Johnson got the biggest share of the workload. And I think he will be your starting running back on Saturday if Caden Durham can't go. Now, Johnson looks the part. Like, you say, oh, well, he's a safety. Oh, he's a quarterback. Like, can he handle the... He's 6 feet tall and 210 pounds. Like, he's like 15 pounds lighter than Caleb Jackson. But he's put together and looks the part of an SEC running back. He didn't look like Trent Richardson, but he looks like an SEC running back. He looks like John Emery. Logan Diggs is there for Ole Miss. He looks like him. He looks like a solid SEC running back. And I have very little doubt that given space, he can run the football. He's been doing that his whole life. I talked about this in the story that I wrote at LouisianaSports.net. Like, he was playing safety last year for 2 weeks, and then John Emery tore his ACL, and then on Monday they said, okay, go play running back, and on Saturday he caught a touchdown pass. So, like, he can do some of these things in space. Is he as capable as Durham? I would suggest no, but I'd love to be proven wrong. I think Johnson starts. I think Harlem Berry, this isn't a guess on my part, is given a package of plays that he feels really comfortable about. I don't know what Harlem Berry feels best about right now. Could be zone where he can kind of string the play out and cut it up the field when it's open. It might be the screen game where he's most comfortable creating a little bit of space for him. It might be with a fullback behind him. Like, who knows? I don't know what Harlem Berry is most comfortable with, but I would suggest they probably get him some reps this week doing the things he's most comfortable with, understanding they'll go to those when it's his turn to get into the game to give Juwan Johnson a breather, and the game flow dictates it. I think Caleb Jackson plays a little bit. I don't think he plays a lot. And then this is the biggest X factor that I think you see a dramatic uptick here. Xavien Thomas. I think you see Xavien Thomas in the backfield a lot. Now, here's the deal with... Let me talk about Xavien Thomas first, and then I'll go big picture. Xavien Thomas can carry the football in the SEC comfortably from the shotgun in the read option game. Like, he can do that. Give him 3 practices to work on it. He is comfortable putting the ball under his arm, making guys miss, getting to the edge, outrunning folks. Like, he'll take a hit in the middle of the field. Like, he's big, strong. He's a fourth-year college player. He's got a man's body on him. Like, he's ready to go. And you're going to see him carry the football. I bet he carries the ball 6, 8, 10 times. Like, I really think that is going to happen. And I think he'll line up in the backfield a lot. You can get Barryon Brown involved in the jet sweep game as well if you want to test the edges and make sure that Ole Miss can't just completely lay back in a shell. You're going to get creative in the things that you do. I don't think your game plan is going to look exactly the way it would look with Caden Durham back there. I don't think LSU changes anything on defense when Gabe Relaford is not able to play. I don't think LSU changed a lot on defense when Whit Weeks was ejected against Florida. There are spots on the field where I don't think you change a lot of what you're doing. Some, maybe, but not a lot. I think you change a lot of what you're doing without Caden Durham because you just have guys with very, very different skill sets. But here's something that's very important to consider when you think about the running backs and who's playing and when they're playing and how often they're playing. Right at or near the top of the list and what LSU must have from its running back on Saturday, I would suggest one is probably ball security. If you're prone to fumbling, you can't play. But beyond that, even more so than making guys miss in the hole, more so than home run hitting ability, more so than making great catches out of the backfield, more so than all of those things beyond ball security. If you cannot diagnose blitzes and understand what your pass protection responsibility is, you cannot play. Because LSU behind that offensive line on the road cannot have a running back there in the backfield who doesn't know how to protect its most valuable asset in Garrett Nussmeier. If you cannot do that, you cannot play. And I have no idea how good Juwan Johnson is or isn't at pass protection. Frank Wilson told me in my pregame interview 3 weeks ago that he's good at it because he played quarterback and he understands where the blitzes are coming from, and he's got a good aptitude for that. Great, then get him out there. I don't know how well Harlem Berry protects the passer. I don't think he did very much of that last year at St. Martin. That's just my guess. I have no idea how well Caleb Jackson protects the quarterback either. He's certainly big and physical enough to block somebody that's blitzing. I don't know. But I would suggest that'll be a point of emphasis this week to make sure these guys know what they're doing and know what page they're on and know how to protect Garrett Nussmeier, because if you can't do that, you cannot play. So I think for LSU, this is a significant deal if Caden Durham is not able to go. I think that it changes a little bit what you want to do on offense, but I do think they've got athletic enough guys and enough options with a week to prepare that you can put together a running game that should be able to produce something against one of the worst run defenses to this point in all of the FBS. It's just a matter of how good can it be, how effective can it be. That we won't know until we get to Saturday. I would anticipate questionable grades for Caden Durham early the week. You're going to get your first injury report on Wednesday, then Thursday, then Friday. We'll see how truthful LSU is on that. You'll know my feeling on the whole thing. I think Lane Kiffin will play the same gamesmanship with his quarterbacks all week. I'm not as concerned with those, but I think that it warrants us talking about it. And LSU would like to have Caden Durham. They don't necessarily have a guy that plugs right in for him, but they've got some options. They've got to make sure everybody's in the right position to succeed. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.